possible? Thank you. Second microphone? Yeah, so it is. Yeah.
Well, again, good evening, everybody. Very happy to have this number of people here. I was expecting, given the progress and a lot of work that is still ongoing, that it might be difficult to get people to attend, but it's very good to see so many people interested in the Global Wetland Estimates Partnership and Waterbird population estimates. Let's call it discussion. When, back in March, we submitted the proposal for the side event, as many of you did, I think, the world looked different. We didn't know when the draft resolution would be accepted, and we actually asked for the side event to be really in the beginning of all the proceedings so that we would be able to help all of you by explaining what it is all about, address your questions, etc. But then when we got here, first of all, we were programmed very late in the whole event. And then when we got here, we found out that there was already a lot of support for the draft resolution, and it sailed through so well that it was actually the first one to be adopted. So very happy about that. Thank you, yes. And thank to you all. We had to rethink a little bit what we would do with this amount of time that we have to bring people together that are interested and engaged in this initiative. So we have rescheduled the idea of the whole side event and would like to now use this time, bringing us all together, to think about what is ahead of us. We have now been given the mandate to run the Wetland Estimates Partnership and to go forward towards a 2027 update of the waterbird population estimates. But a lot still needs to be arranged before we can actually hit the ground running. And this could be the first meeting here where together we think about that. The resolution, or draft resolution, whatever you want to call it, I think it's adopted, so we may call it a resolution, contains quite a lot of guidance for that already, or at least suggested options that we could follow. So I hope that together we can go this evening, in this hour, through some of those suggestions and get a better understanding of where we are, and maybe already agree on how together we are going to move towards the first meeting of that partnership. So this evening is now a side event addressed to this topic, and we have a number of people that are willing to introduce this. First of all, we have Mr. Kohei Sakai from Japan, who will tell a little bit about how this data is being used in Japan. We have Megan Aldridge from BirdLife International, who will share the view of that very important partner organization in all of this work on how to move forward. And then there were several other speakers that unfortunately couldn't make it now, so we had asked the UK to make an intervention related to their contribution and how they see that, Australia, and then Hugh Robertson, who has been in very important speaker, or no, not speaker, but a very important person in moving this all along as chair of the STRP, because this is actually an STRP resolution that we're looking at. And my name is Wart Hagemeyer. I work for Wetlands International, and we have, with Hugh and with the STRP, worked hard to get the resolution to the stage we are at now, with all the partners, obviously. And I will be trying to help us use this hour as usefully as possible. So, the draft resolution has quite a long title, but I've already explained the essence of it. It's about the Waterbird Estimates Partnership, which we will from now on abbreviate as GWEP, and the 2027 update edition of the Waterbird population estimates. Here's an overview of the program, short introduction, then the presentation from Japan. Then we had hoped to get something from Hugh about how we have reached where we are now. I can try to fill in on that, but you will be doing a lot of looking at me, sorry. And then we go into an interactive part of the program where I'll ask BirdLife, I'll have Indonesia, who've been willing to say something, and then all of us, all of you, to reflect on where we are. And to do that, I will show some of the components of the draft resolution that suggests things that we'll need to take forward towards the first meeting of the partnership. And at the far end, I hope to still have some of your time to introduce you to the International Waterbird Census 60th anniversary that we will be celebrating next year. And I'll explain how this work is crucial to obtaining data for the waterbird population estimates. Empty. I hand the microphone to Kai. Can you please introduce your presentation? I'll switch it on.
Here, yeah. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kohei Sakai from the Ministry of the Environment, Japan. May I sit? And first, I would like to thank Wetland International for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I also wish to express my respect and appreciation to everyone involved in developing draft resolution 2311 at this COP. Today, I would like to briefly share how waterbird population estimates would be useful and important in shaping Japan's effort both domestically and internationally on wetlands and biodiversity conservation. By the way, I like painting, and this is my watercolor painting. So next slide, please. This one, okay. Japan has been conducting a long-term monitoring program called Monitoring Site 1000 since 2003. The aim is to observe changes across major ecosystems in Japan and apply the findings to our biodiversity policies. Currently, surveys are being conducted at around 1,000 sites nationwide. That's why the name of the project is Monitoring Sites 1000. And each year we compile the results into reports and data files. And every 5 years we publish a comprehensive summary, which is made publicly available on the website of the Biodiversity Center of Japan. Let me briefly introduce 2 examples from the many activities under Monitoring Sites 1000. We have seen changes in wintering patterns for certain species, likely due to climate shifts in Japan. For example, the greater white-fronted goose now winters at Lake Hachirogata, the northern part of Japan, an area with reduced snowfall. Back in the 2000s, in that wetland, we used to see 2 distinct peaks in their numbers each season, once during southward migration in autumn and again during northward migration in spring, as shown in the top graph. But in recent years, the patterns has shifted as shown in the bottom graph, likely reflecting short-term southward movements from that wetlands during cold waves. The second example highlights a different kind of change. Long-term monitoring has revealed a decline in familiar everyday species. The graph on the left shows that shorebird numbers have dropped by nearly 50% nationwide over the past decade. Various species using tidal flats, sandy beaches, and inland wetlands are affected. Interestingly, surveyors report that tidal flat areas in Japan haven't shrunk much recently, so suggesting that changes outside Japan in migratory routes or breeding grounds could be a factor. We look to future global waterbird population estimate to help clarify this. Also, seabirds once considered widespread, like the slatty-backed gull and black-tailed gull, have shown unexpectedly large declines. And at the national level, data from monitoring sites 1,000 is of course valuable when preparing Ramsar information sheets. It is also used in local biodiversity strategies and other planning processes. What's particularly noteworthy is the role of the public and not private sector, as shown in the orange section of the pie chart, which represents about 1/4 of data users. Many companies are using this data in environmental assessments and other contexts. And Japan strongly supports biodiversity conservation in the East Asian Australian Flyway Partnership, aiding monitoring surveys and ensuring their continuity via the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity. We also make continuous contributions to EFP and wetland protected areas. So we seek broad collaboration to achieve our shared goals continuously in the process of making the global Waterbird estimates. And after 2027's estimate and using it and further collaboration, looking forward to see the collaboration. So thank you so much for kind attention.
Thank you very much. And I think this is a very good example of what very strong national monitoring data can reveal. And if you then are able to compare that to the international population estimates, you will be in a good position to assess how your populations are doing compared to the global situation. And it allows you to compare, well, to assess whether your populations are meeting the 1% criteria. So it really shows the value of monitoring at the national scales. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know, you would have hoped to have been able to listen to Hugh Robertson, chair of the STRP, who would have been describing how this process of developing this resolution that we're talking about tonight has been progressing, where at the previous COP in Geneva, a resolution was adopted that called for this work to happen. It was then put on the STRP task list, and with some support of the Ramsar Secretariat, we were able to move it forward to where we were just before this COP, where we had some discussions, not too much comments, and amendments were suggested, and it all sailed through relatively quickly. In the meantime, we had also already received 2 very valuable financial contributions to this work, which are bringing us, well, it depends a bit on what scenario we look at, but towards half of the money that we need to do a full update of the population estimates. So we will continue to work on further resource mobilization, but we've already made great strides forward. And at this point, I would have liked to ask the UK, who was one of the generous contributors, and Australia, the other one, to reflect a bit on what they think is the power of the work that we are going into and what made them contribute to this. But unfortunately, they are involved in the hard work, and they were not able to be here. So let's move forward to the next step, which is the discussion. And I would like to have that discussion kick-started by asking Megan from BirdLife to reflect on, well, the process, the stage we are in, and the work that is ahead of us. And BirdLife has been a crucial partner in bringing together monitoring data. You heard a little bit about the International Waterbird Census, and very many of the countries, actually, it's a BirdLife partner that coordinates that work, but also in doing a lot of the red listing, the Red Listing Authority. So please, Megan, tell us about the perspective of BirdLife on this work.
Thanks. And yeah, I think it's a great testament to how many folks within the convention recognize the importance of monitoring data for underpinning the designation and recognition of Ramsar sites. I think 1/3 of Ramsar sites are listed against criterion 6, which is the data that this Waterbird partnership will be feeding into. And so that means that over 1 in 3 Ramsar sites will be able to make better assessments of when we have the next Waterbird population estimate together. So I think that's really key and really great. And I couldn't possibly speak on behalf of the UK or Australia, but I think the fact that they've contributed to this work means that they too recognize the importance of monitoring data to the functioning of this convention, which is great. So yeah, I mean, as you said, for BirdLife, there's probably 4 main pillars of work under this partnership that we're looking forward to contributing to. That first one that you mentioned is around the data collection and monitoring, because so many of our partners in so many of our countries, for those of you who don't know, BirdLife International is a partnership of 123 nationally led civil society organizations working in 119 countries. And in the vast majority of those countries, the partners are working on collecting that Waterbird data, either often through the International Waterbird Census. And so being part of this partnership is really key to kind of integrating that data into the global reporting and monitoring. So that kind of data collection and monitoring is definitely the first pillar for us and super integral. The second, again, is around data sharing and collaboration. How can we make sure all of that data that's collected from the ground up is included into other analyses and processes? So the red list is obviously the key one, and through this partnership, we want to make sure that those Waterbird population estimates are able to inform red list assessments for birds. That's really key, especially now that the red list is an indicator for the global biodiversity framework. It's also potentially an indicator under the climate change. We want to ensure that this data is included is through key biodiversity assessments. So making sure that international Waterbird census data is able to inform the identification of KBAs or key biodiversity areas, so we know which sites are the most critical to protect. So that's really key. The third is really around, and I think this came out in the development of the resolution in particular, is what this partnership can do to support capacity building and working with countries and partners to collect that data on a greater scale. And especially so many of our BirdLife partners work really fantastically with their communities to kind of raise the importance of this data and the birds that use the sites near them. So that will be really important. And I think that's something that really came out as we worked through the draft resolution back in January with parties. So we'll want to think more about that. And then fourth, and probably quite critically, where this resolution's come a long way, is recognizing and raising the importance of having this conversation at that kind of convention level. So for us, I think it will be how we use the partnership to build on the kind of policy and advocacy work we've been doing over the last 3 years on this, and how we also mobilize the resources off the back of that. We can't wait another 15 years for another Waterbird population estimate, and the key to unlocking that is going to be making sure we have the funds to deliver that. So yeah, those would be the 4 main pillars for us, and lots to work on with lots of different partners, but we're looking forward to it.
Thanks a lot, Megan, and thanks a lot, BirdLife, for having been, and hopefully, you've said it, going to be a strong partner in this work. Look forward to that. Another category of users, beneficiaries, but also contributors to this will be flyway initiatives. And Jennifer, we would like to hear from you how the East Asian Australasian Flyway Partnership looks at its role in this partnership and possibly also the contribution it can make, because both contributing and benefiting from are likely to be possible.
Thank you. Yeah, well, just those of you who don't know, is the East EAFP is we're a partnership of 18 countries, and so on the EAFP, which is very globally threatened birds, and so this is really important for us, and because what well, obviously we all know how important it is, but I think the East Asian Australasian Flyway, we have the CSR, the Conservation Status Review, that's already been, the first review has been done. And so we've already gathered a little bit of money for the second review. And so we are, I think that what's happened here means that our partners will raise the status, and so we'll be able to promote with our partners a greater contribution to that status review, which will then feed in to this. And I think what's also really important is that not only we have 18 country partners, we have 24 non-government partners, of which BirdLife is a key, and Wetlands International. So we are looking forward to working closely with those as they actually develop and work on gathering the data for what we're looking for. So we're keen. We have a lot of experts in our partnership, and so they'll be contributing to this as well. And yeah, they're the key things, and I think that's what we can contribute. But also it's the fact that it's going to feed into the status of knowing where the gaps are. So it's a very exciting move. Thanks, Vard.
Thank you. And maybe I didn't introduce you enough. I thought everybody knows you. Probably that is the case. But the Asian Australasian Flyway Partnership is led by Jennifer and the Secretariat, for whom we have other representatives here. And we look forward to working with them as well. Another one of those flyway initiatives in the world is the African-Eurasian Waterbird Agreement. Unfortunately, nobody of that Secretariat of AEWA was able to make it to the Ramsar COP, but they have contributed a statement to this side event, expressing their intent to be working with all of us towards establishing and delivering as a partnership and contributing to and benefiting from the waterbird population estimates. And this statement is coming from Dr. Jacques Trouvier, who is the Executive Secretary of the Agreement on the Conservation of African Eurasian Migratory Waterbirds, abbreviated as AEWA. It is with great set, and I will read it out. You are going to project it? Okay. Can do. Then you can read it yourself as well. It is with great satisfaction that I welcome the adoption of the resolution by the 15th session of the Conference of the Contracting Parties to the Ramsar Convention, which establishes the Global Waterbird Estimates Partnership, GWEP, and sets in motion the process for delivering the 2027 edition of the waterbird population estimates. This important decision reflects a renewed global commitment to ensuring that robust, up-to-date data on the status and trends of waterbird populations is available to guide evidence-based wetland conservation. At a time when many migratory waterbird species are under increasing pressure from habitat loss and degradation, such a coordinated effort is both timely and necessary. The AEWA Secretariat is pleased to confirm its intention to pursue partnership status for the agreement within the GWEP, subject to the endorsement of the AEWA governing bodies. We are confident that AEWA's long-standing expertise and institutional processes, particularly our triennial conservation status report, CSR, similar to the East Asian Australasian Flyway Partnership, can significantly contribute to the success of the partnership. Since the first edition of the CSR in 1999, AEWA has developed a well-established and collaborative process for assessing population status and trends. We are currently preparing the 9th edition of the CSR, which will once again draw on national and international data sources to inform decision-making and policy under AEWA. Through the CSR process and other key mechanisms, such as national reporting on the status of AEWA-listed populations, AEWA is well placed to contribute substantively to WPE 2027 and its future editions. The resources and the technical infrastructure supporting AEWA's CSR process, generously provided by our contracting parties, are designed to serve broader flyway level and global objectives, such as those articulated through GWEP. AEWA has also set ambitious agreement-level targets and priorities to improve both the quantity and the quality of population estimates for migratory waterbirds. This includes a strong focus on capacity development through training, technical assistance, and targeted resource mobilization to strengthen national and regional monitoring systems. These efforts align directly with the capacity-building objectives of GWEP and can provide mutual benefits, bolstering the partnership's impact while simultaneously enhancing AEWA's own data collection and assessment capabilities. With 85 contracting parties and a network of governments and partner organizations spanning nearly 120 range states, AEWA offers a uniquely broad and effective platform for collaboration. This network will be an essential asset in achieving our shared goal of ensuring that waterbird population estimates are regular, reliable, and actionable for conservation across the African Eurasian flyways and beyond. We look forward to working in close coordination, with the Ramsar Secretariat and other GWEP partners to ensure that WPE 2027 is a success and that the Global Waterbird Estimates Partnership becomes a cornerstone of global efforts to conserve waterbirds and the wetlands they depend on. From here, I would like to thank Jacques Trouvier for this strong statement, offering to contribute and work with all of us towards GWEP and WPE 2027. And with that, I'd like to see what I can do. Move to the next point. The next category of beneficiaries and contributors to the partnership is at the national level. And in Indonesia, we have a very good example of how, at the national level, a partnership has been established between a range of partners, including both government and NGOs, to address the issue of waterbird and bird, I think in more broader sense, monitoring. And we have Yus Rusila Noor here from Wetlands International Indonesia, who can tell a little bit more about this. Please, Yus, you have the floor.
Thank you, Wad. My name is Yus Rusila Noor. I'm Director of Wetlands International in Indonesia, and I also a member of steering committee for the National Partnership on Migratory Birds. So our work is in the area of East Asian Australasian Flyway. And then this EIFP is in our heart very much because 1996, the Asia Pacific Migratory Waterbird Strategy, as well as the partnership, was actually launched in our very city in Bogor in Indonesia. And then since then, as the implementation of the strategy of this partnership, then Indonesian government take lead to launch a national partnership on migratory birds, not only water birds, in 2012. It consists of it's led by the Ministry of Forestry, but then the partner are including the NGO. So there are some task force on the partnership. It's including the monitoring, the site network, the SEPA, and then also the coordinator. So we have 7 or 8 coordinators in every big island of Indonesia. And mostly is the Office of Forestry, Ministry of Forestry. So the mechanism of this is one of the activities is this partnership coordinating the Asian waterbird census, for example. But we were very busy during the avian influenza event. So then we have one of the task force related with the zoonosis work. And then the Asian waterbird census was quite very well organized. Now 5 organizations co-lead this, including Wetland International, BirdLife, and 3 other local NGOs. Basically, we coordinate this. We started in receiving less than 10 contributor in 1980s, but then now is almost more than 2,000 contributors in Indonesia with the support of, for example, the National Geographic Society. So this also, the data provided by Asian Waterbird Census is also used by government. First is for the launching our new Ramsar sites in Indonesia, the criteria 6 on 1% and then 20,000 individual. But also our government used this for the designation or determination of the high important conservation area because the Director General in the Ministry of Forestry every year send a letter to every office of Ministry of Forestry to participate on this Asian Waterbird Census and then collecting data in the ministry, and then we analyze, and this become the major source of the policy. But also this contributed to the development of the Indonesian Biodiversity Action Plan, of which species need to be put the attention. But also in return, now we use the Indonesian Biodiversity Action Plan to develop the 5-year action plan on migratory birds. This is also a good decision we made, I think, for put it as a migratory bird in general, because the raptor people and then the other were very active, and then we can just talk and then share the idea. But in practice, actually, the raptor people are also shorebird people, and shorebird people are also working on raptor. So this is kind of a good combination within the partnership. I think that's in nutshell the information from our country, and then we are very much like to communicate on the development further on this national partnership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Huus. I think this is a very good example of how this partnership and the estimates relate to, benefit from a much wider group than Ramsar only, and therefore the partnership is also looking to relate to, for example, CBD and the NBSAPs or the UNFCCC, and integrating it into climate adaptation approaches, etc. So we are looking to establish a partnership that works closely with Ramsar, but also with other stakeholders. And with that, I would like to look at you, turn to you, and ask whom in the room would like to share their perspective on the partnership. How do you relate to it? How do you think you can benefit from it or contribute to it? And well, I see a first hand already. That's good. Laura, will you or use? Because this is a partnership, it is not restricted to the organizations that we've heard already, but it's looking at a much wider collaboration. Please introduce yourself and give your perspective. Green, you press the button.
Hello. Hello, I am Iman Ebrahimi from Waterbird Conservation Society. We located in Iran. We have been doing bird monitoring and we have been doing midwinter bird census for years, at least 6 years in more than 45 wetlands across the Iran from south to north in collaboration with the government. But as far as I know, our data is not on your hand, is not on that IWC, because based on your structure, we should send our data to national coordinator, and national coordinator in Iran is government. And although we are very close together, we collaborate together, but they are government and they are very slow and has a very complex issues in data collection. So I am thinking about the high amount of money and time and human resources we spend for monitoring and birds, and the data is completely useless now. So what I want to say and what I want to ask is thinking about how we can change the data collection from nations who face face the same, because I think if we experience that, maybe other countries are experience that, some other countries experience that too. So what I want to ask is to considering selecting some national coordinators from non-governmental organizations. Thank you.
Thank you for that perspective. I understand your question. Looking at it from the side of the data, I am aware of the fact that in probably the majority of the countries that where the birds are being monitored through the IWC, the national coordinator is an NGO or is not government. We already heard that BirdLife in many instances through their partners contribute and are a national coordinator. Wetlands International has a number of offices through which it is at the national level coordinating. And there are a whole range of other NGOs at national levels that coordinate this. But also there are many governments where the coordination is done appropriately, and we do receive the data. I cannot from the top of my head comment on your observation that none of the data is in the IWC database. I do actually think I've seen data from Iran, but I would need to check with our data manager. Maybe we can, after the meeting, have a sit down together and see what we can assess about the status of the Iranian data. It would be a pity if it would all get lost, but lost is maybe not the right word. It's not accessible, and maybe we can do something about it if that's still the case. Thank you for your contribution. Another contribution here. Let me give you the mic.
Thank you very much. My name is Mary Malasa. I work for Birdwatch Zambia, which is the partner of BirdLife International in Zambia. So I have a couple of questions. The first one is based on the presentation that was given from Japan. How were the 1,000 sites selected? What criteria was used to select those 1,000 sites? And how is the data collected? And how do you ensure that it is validated so that it is usable for estimates? I have another question, general question, to anyone else in the room. In the case where potential partners to assist in data collection or waterbed counts are not interested or do not have the capacity to do so in terms of identification of birds, maybe, how do you navigate that in your countries? How do you grow the interest, or how do you build that capacity in various partners to identify birds? I come from a country where birding is not one of those. The birding community is not as big as other countries, and it's really a challenge to get people involved. So I would like to learn from other countries and what they're doing. Thank you.
Very much for the question. The first two were for Japan. Kohei, can you answer them?
Thank you very much for your question. First question is how to choose the site? 1001. We choose the site from the various kinds of ecosystems, from the coral reefs and alpine mountains and coastal zone and forest or grasslands. And from the northern part to the southern part of Japan, their climate and ecosystems are so vary. So approximately 1,000, and each region's characterized or specific areas are chosen by experts. And the second question related and experts, Ministry of the Environment offering certain research center, or each research center that experts has, I'm not sure the exact number or years, but I experience sees more than 10 years, for example, at the university, or when it comes to birds, then they have to certify the banda, for example, like that. I think I forgot the third question or second.
How do you ensure that the data is usable? How do you validate it?
At each, thank you again for the question. That it depends on each site, but we did that monitoring for long term, and the method is same from the beginning. So that's why we can compare from the past and now.
Thank you. So your question is very relevant, and it reflects a need for capacity development in partners, all the partners that contribute. And there will be partners that are on the side that they have that capacity and can help others. And there will be partners that are at a level that they could still be further developed in terms of capacity. And that is one of the important components that will be addressed in the collaborative work of the partnership. If you don't mind, I don't give the question to the rest of the room because that would take too much time for now. I would like to help us reflect a little bit on the range of activities that need to be addressed through the partnership. Is it still connected? Yeah.
Ward, there was a question here. If you can take just one more question.
Yeah, please.
Or do you want to do that afterwards?
Yes, I saw a number of hands, but so Achilles in the back.
Yeah, thank you very much, Wad. My name is Achilles Biaruhanga from Uganda. I work with Nature Uganda, with the Birdlife Partner in Uganda. We've been participating in the waterfall counts or monitoring for more than 25 years, and I think our data is in the database. But I just want to build on my colleague from Zambia talking about capacity. I think one of the key key objectives of the partnership should not only be getting the data, collecting the data and producing the report. I think there must be a deliberate intention to build the capacity in many countries to be able to produce and collect this data. This is what we miss in many of our countries. You'll find there will be one or two people who are able to do these counts, not like in Japan or Indonesia, where they've got thousands of coordinators. And if this is going to be, long term, you've talked about 60 years, we're looking at more 60 years in front, then we need to continuously build capacity so that we are able to continuously collect this data and put it into the database. I think it should be a deliberate effort by in countries.
Thank you. Yes, you're right. I was going to start with the aim, but I think we have already. So I'll come back to the capacity building component, which is indeed one of the objectives. Starting with the aim, it is to deliver a waterbird population estimates process that is coordinated and sufficiently resourced. And there are several, so there's a whole range of beneficiaries, and there's also a whole range of partners that can contribute. And in terms of objectives, it is to bring cooperation to ensure technical and scientific cooperation and exchange between organizations responsible for both gathering and reporting population data. It's about coordination in terms of aligning and harmonizing processes and timetables and methodologies to get good population estimates. It is about achieving data and information standards to optimize the quality of the data by looking at how to standardize this over the whole of the range. It's importantly capacity building, and we've heard a few calls out for that already. That's indeed a very important component in terms of facilitating training, technical assistance between partners, resource mobilization to strengthen national and regional capacity for data collection, monitoring, and assessments of waterbird populations, particularly in regions with significant gaps. So it is indeed to be targeted to where it is most needed. And then a very important objective of the partnership is also to make sure that in the future there is a stable basis of funding to secure adequate and sustained processes like the updating, so that we're not having to wait for many years until the next version. Any views on those objectives? These are the ones listed in the draft resolution. Do we call it a draft resolution or a resolution? When can we call it a resolution, Philip? It's adopted, so it's a resolution, right? Yes. Okay. Thank you. I've been saying draft resolution for so long that it's stuck in there. So in terms of the objectives, this is quite broad and high ambition. Are there any reflections on that? Do people feel that they need to be prioritized? Are they equally important? Too much, too many? Who can contribute to what? Asking all these questions, I realize that we have only very limited time. So please, can I give you the floor?
Thank you so much. I'm from South Africa, and you did. Now that you've put these slides up, I had been. My questions were aligned with what is your proposed structure? Are you expecting to get the data from countries, and then like most of the work would be about analysis. So you've laid out the priorities quite nicely. Because each of those things needs attention from our side. We have I just can second the other two countries. Our data comes from citizen scientists. We started our program of work using a European timing to count the Waterbird estimates. We've got lots of data gaps. We had academic partners that started the process and then had other priorities according to funding. So maybe I can just, to save time, say each of those things are very strong priorities for us. And I'm not sure how it's going to be a massive work to mobilize all of the countries to be able to give you the data that you need. So I still have quite a big question. How are you going to mobilize that data from countries?
When you talk about mobilizing that data, you're probably referring to creating a waterbird population estimates publication or process. And we've already heard about the International Waterbird Census, which is a structured program with a standard methodology that is applied across many countries. I will talk, not much time, but I will talk about that later. That's only one of the data sources. In a population update process, population estimates update process, we will also do an extensive literature review. We will contact specialist groups of experts that know about trends and numbers, and we give them data to review and ask them to together come to an estimate. So it's certainly not a simple process of rolling out a monitoring program, getting the data into a database and do an analysis. And here we are. A lot of the assessments are based on best professional judgment, based on convening literature, reviewing literature, contacting experts, and then arriving at an estimate. That process has been done 5 times before. There are 5 earlier editions of the waterbird population estimates. As Jacques Trouvier of AEWA already described, this has happened 9 times now in the AEWA region in an increasingly standardized way of bringing data together, both from monitoring schemes, from literature, and from experts. So we can learn from these processes, and then against the objectives, identify how we develop guidance that help this to be done in the most standardized way possible across the world. Because we have these regional processes happening already in the East Asian Australasian Flyway Partnership and in AEWA, we do not necessarily always need to do our own assessments in those places. We can just use those data. And we need to fill the gaps of where this is not done. So it is a quite complex process that the partnership will overlook, and that in a way of providing guidance to standardize, looks at really establishing the best possible quality level under the work. That will be my short answer to this. More than happy to talk about it later and ask for your input and help. Quickly going through the draft, the resolution gives more guidance also in terms of how we need to think about the partnership governance It suggests steps that could be taken there. Please review the text and identify whether you can play a role in that. The governance of this partnership is an important part because it will determine how we can work together, how we report, and what mechanisms we choose. It also makes suggestion for membership. Although it is great to have so many people interested in participating in the partnership, it will become unmanageable if everybody will be a member. So we need to think about how we get all the layers of society, the birding society, the Waterbird number society represented in that partnership to do a good enough job. And it needs a secretariat to support all of that and to provide coordination and manage the processes. And as you may have heard in the plenary, Wetlands International has said to be ready to provide that role if partners are willing to or agree that that is a good solution. There is a whole suggestion of topics that need to be addressed in a TOR that needs to be developed. So that might be one of the first processes that we need to engage in together to address how we will work, modus operandi, what the coordination committee will look like and whether that's the right name. Is there an outline of key activities? How do we elect a chair? I'm just reading a few of them. The list in the resolution gives them all and maybe is still not inclusive. So please think about that and make suggestions. It is suggested to, well, we are developing this to create an interim coordination committee. And then it also gives suggestion of how to get there. I don't think we will have enough time here to go through that process. Please, for those that are interested in engaging, becoming a partner and already working in the initial stages, have a look at it and please contact me or others. BirdLife is, I'm sure, is willing to also receive input. So let's try to start communicating about this to bring together process that brings us to the first meeting. Because that's what I think we could propose, that Wetlands International takes the initiative to inviting a first meeting of what we start calling the partnership. Not yet an interim committee. We will work in that first meeting towards the process of identifying that interim committee, I think. And there are a few criteria given here that might be used to decide how we compose the composition or how we establish the composition of the interim coordination committee. The resolution also already contains a list of suggested members of the coordination committee. Please have a look and consider whether you want to be on that list or not, or want to be added, want to withdraw. And these are the types of guidance that are currently found in the resolution. And well, I've probably dumped so much information on you that you don't know. Well, maybe you have questions, suggestions. We have very little time to discuss it, but maybe a suggestion for further steps. Any hands?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. A small thing. From our Asian Waterbird census experience, there was least interest from the participant is because most of our role is just to collect data, but in return, they cannot really see the data. So then we revise this, then the data, then we collect it and then accessible to all the contributors. And then it really improve the participation of community. So it's become data from them and then they can also use the data accordingly. Thank you.
Thanks, very useful contribution and suggestion. We are approaching the end, but I was made aware that the UK, who was not able to attend, has sent a statement, and my colleague Laura will read that statement out, please.
Yeah, thanks, Ward. We just received a statement from the UK who really wanted to be here in person from Stephen Grady in the team. So I'll just read it out quickly on their behalf. It says, the United Kingdom warmly welcomes the successful adoption of the resolution on the establishment of the Global Waterbird Estimates Partnership and the delivery of the 2027 edition of the Waterbird Population Estimates, and wishes to acknowledge with sincere thanks the hard work of the STRP, Wetlands International, IOPs and other parties to get it to this stage. The UK acknowledges the critical need for a regular process which updates the global population estimates of waterbirds and the establishment of the Global Bird GWEP to begin the work required to deliver the 2027 edition of the Waterbird population estimates and future editions. In light of this, we have committed £85,000 towards the successful delivery of the 2027 edition. This is critical and urgently needed scientific and technical work which will help contracting parties and other entities accurately apply the Convention on Wetlands Criterion 6 with much needed up-to-date information, and also towards the delivery of the conservation and wise use of wetlands and waterbird populations through other mechanisms, including through transboundary cooperation. Depending on the resources available, it is important that the work focus on the regions, flyways and populations most requiring updates as outlined in the resolution, but we urge the Secretariat, STRP and other interested parties to continue to work to mobilise additional resources to achieve the most ambitious WPE 2027 possible, as well as future editions. The UK looks forward to the establishment of the GWEP and its agreed functioning, and will be willing to contribute to discussions and decisions as appropriate. We look forward to the update of progress at the 67th meeting of the Standing Committee from the Secretariat and the STRP. The UK delegation at COP15 regrets not being able to join this event tonight due to ongoing commitments at the conference, but we look forward to hearing the outcomes and any proposed next steps discussed.
Thank you very much. And thanks to the UK. Also thank for their contribution, and they make a very valid point. We have received very generous contributions from the UK and Australia, but by far we are not there yet to push the estimates across the line. So we should all be looking for further resource mobilization opportunities and to make the progress possible. We do have sufficient resources to start the work now, but we will not achieve the end goal if we are not able to mobilize mobilize further resources. In the program, I was now supposed to do a presentation about the International Waterbird Census celebrating its 60th anniversary, but we are already past time, so I will make it very short. And just mentioning to you that, yeah, along the lines of the call for capacity building, and along the lines of having seen the importance of having good data, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that the International Waterbird Census, which is one of the key data sources of the waterbird population estimates, next January will celebrate its 60th anniversary. So that will be the 60th year that we do that International Waterbird Census. And this map shows where in the world the first International Waterbird Census was done, and it therefore also shows on a map what kind of coverage we have achieved. Obviously, this is a map at a country scale, so if one count is done in Russia, theoretically, the whole of Russia is blue, so it does give a bit of a positive picture. But in here you can see that quite a lot of work was already starting very early on. The scale here runs from 1960 to 2020. And also we have some new additions recently, but we look to get more countries online. So it's one of the world's longest running biodiversity monitoring programs, and the information is used by lots of different people and organizations and agreements, and this partnership will be one of those. This is a line that demonstrates how its participation has gone up over the year, and we're still increasing, and how the number of birds counted per year is also still going up, but fluctuates and has been stabilizing over the last years. up to 50 million have been counted in the recent years per year. So it's a very significant number of birds that are being counted. And this is the number of sites that have been counted, reaching 20,000 sites annually. Very significant numbers. And a map showing where in the world these sites are located. So this doesn't do it by country, but by grid of 2.5 by 2.5 degree. And you can see that, well, Europe is completely covered, but very many other parts of the world also have a large number of sites per unit of 2.5 by 2.5 grid. There are also areas where the coverage is very thin and where a lot of improvement could still be achieved. And those could be indicators for where capacity building and training is really necessary, for example. Another map showing that there are also quite a lot of sites where we can start doing real good trend analysis because they have been counted for many times already. The darker the color, the longer the trend series is. Because besides numbers, if we compare years, we can also start to look at trends of populations. So, sorry for the rush, but I didn't want to take too much of your time more than what was in the program. I feel I've been talking too much. I hope it has been interesting and that we have created a spirit of wanting to move forward together. And with that, I would like to thank the speakers, both those in the room, Kohai, Megan, Yus, Jennifer, and also those that have provided statements, and all of you for being here, bringing your energy and your interest in the issue. And I hope that we will be able to maintain that momentum and work with you and hope to come back quickly with a proposed set of steps through which we can all engage again. With that, I would like to release you and thanks for coming and see you later tomorrow. Anytime you can talk to me and colleagues about participating in this. Thank you very much.
Yours, excited with them.